Hey Jimmy, we're back, and today what we're going to do is we are going to attempt to upgrade our headlight. Let's have a spin around, have a look. In preparation, in my previous video, if you've watched it, I did a lowering mudguard project, which is quite successful and I'm happy with it. Which is the reason I did that was also because I like the look of that style of road, which will then entail me to remove the twin headlight setup and go for a big 7-inch LED headlamp. The reason I want to do this is because I want to. Why else would I want to do it? No, the reason I want to do this is because the lights aren't that great on these bikes. They're quite small and the light output's not that great. The higher beam's not too bad, but the normal road use lamp is not very good. And I also feel when I'm riding this bike at night that it doesn't have much presence. The bike doesn't feel it's got any presence on the road. I always seem to get people just pulling out in front of me. I don't know if they think I'm some kind of push bike or something because it's got a small headlight or something. But so that's another reason as well, because you've got a big dog coming down the road. It's going to be more terrifying than a little chihuahua chasing you up the road, isn't it? So hopefully the bigger headlight will have more presence as well. Plus it's electric, which people don't hear it. I've set up a sheet. I've got no scientific way of proving this, it's going to work or not, if it's better or not. But I've put a sheet here. We're going to turn the lights off. I'll do a before and after comparison, hopefully, if we get this fitted. So, I don't know if you can see it there. It looks very bright in the camera, but in real life that's like a warm white. Because it's a conventional bulb in there basically. So, don't know if you can see that beam there. So that's the beam pattern. I mean, looking through the lens of the camera, it looks really good actually, but what I can see, it's not that great. Let's go for a full beam. Now the full beam I'm quite happy with, but obviously I can't drive around with that dartboard looking shape because I get people flashing me. So that's the high beam. That's the low beam. That's them on together. And also I don't think there's much of a pattern, to be honest with you. But watching some other YouTubers with headlight patterns and stuff, it just seems to be round, looks like a giant eye. I don't know if you can see that there. High beam's good, happy with that, it looks nice. But normal beam, I tried adjusting it up slightly, but it seems to be glaring in people's eyes, so well, hopefully that's them on for the last time. Here's a picture of what this bike always reminds me of whenever I see it, with the twin headlight like that and the big high mudguard. Here's a picture coming up now. Boop. Yeah, it always reminds me of this for some reason. I don't know why. So let's see what I've got. Should we see what I've got first? I did quite a bit of investigating on the internet about headlamps and stuff. There's quite a lot of cheap copy versions of this, not this particular make, but this sort of whole look about it. And also when you start looking at reviews, they're pretty, although they look good, the headlight in the picture, people have said they're not that great. To be honest, they're just like cheap Chinese copies, and the light output's actually worse than the original. I'm trying to improve the light output as well, to be honest. So after doing a lot of investigating and looking on YouTube, there's some very good ones out there for £300 plus, which I didn't want to spend. You can go down to low as £25 for a cheap copy on eBay. But I wanted something that's road legal in the UK here. So this is a DOT approved headlight for driving on my side of the country. So this wasn't the cheapest option. So looking around, I think this light was £180, I think, this particular headlight in question. It gets quite good reviews, it's road legal, it should get me through the MOT testing when it eventually appears. So let's go ahead and see what we've got. Okay, so that's the headlight. I think that upside down U part is like a daylight running light, but on this bike the headlamp's either on or off, so I'll probably just parallel them up, the daylight running light. As you can see, this is just like a standard 7-inch headlight. You can pretty much get any 7 standard inch headlight. Obviously you need a housing for it, which I'll come on to in a minute. So you can't just bolt this on the bike because there's no side fixings on this. And it takes a standard H4 plug. That's a little extra loom that I've bought to wire into the plug loom. That's how you get the fitting. The end of the plug, which plugs into a standard H4 plug. So if you're doing this on a car, it'd be a straightforward swap, to be honest. You could plug it straight in. Then you could just go ahead and wire this. I suppose it's the side light, which would be the daylight running light, I'd call it. Comes with some kind of adapter as well, which I suppose it's for a different kind of plug if you've got it in your car or motorbike. I could actually utilise this, the original one that come with it. There's no instructions with it. It's just a headlight, really. That's pretty much it. So that's the make I went for. They seem quite reputable and they get quite good reviews, and I think it's road legal. But I'm going to need a housing, so I went with this one in the end, by a company called Original Cafe Racer Co. It's just basically a black housing that will take any 7-inch headlight, really. So that's it. There's no grommet. I don't know why there's no grommet there. Maybe it's something I have to fit afterwards. But you've got your side fixings there, and I think you've got some kind of minor adjustments for the headlight, perhaps the angle, the tilt on it. So that's pretty much going to be the bucket for it. These are called headlight buckets. These. Now, once again, you can get cheap copies of these. You can get some for like £25, I think, Chinese ones. I don't know what quality they're like. I thought, me being me, I always buy the cheapest one, and then I'll go and buy the better quality version later. So I thought, rather than do that, I'll skip the cheapest version, and I went for the slightly, I'm hoping this is a slightly better quality one. These people sell these for £70, these headlight buckets. I know it seems quite expensive, but so if you can imagine, that's gonna go in there. Obviously maybe a bit lower, probably. I'm not sure how I'm going to utilise the bracket fixing yet. If I can pick up on one of those fixing screws would be ideal. It would be a straight in job. If not, I'm going to have to fabricate some little brackets up that probably will go on there. Period of the time when I was looking into this, I went on eBay and I bought some Chinese like fork bracket adapters. So maybe between the stuff that I've got, I can utilise something to use that. So that's the headlight bucket assembly. Obviously the headlight's going to go in there, but we're a long way from that yet. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and remove this, I think. So that's the cowl for the wiring. The wiring's behind there, so this can't go, obviously, and also it protects it from the weather. If the worst comes to the worst, I don't mind if I have to just trim this a little bit. And if I ever put it back, it won't be that unnoticeable, to be honest. Because eventually, if I ever sell this bike, I'll just put it all back to original. Obviously, I would have cut this up, but I can't avoid that really, because that bit sticks down. That'll be in the front of the headlight, that will. So I'm going to go ahead and take this cowling off, remove the headlights, and get them out and see what we're left with. We'll come back in a minute and see what we've got. Alright, John? So, Jack, this is the progress. The mudguard has been removed. Headlamps fittings set has been removed. So that's stripped out. Plastic cowl that covered the wiring. There's the wiring there, obviously. That was just fixed on with 2 little hex bolts there. It's just 4 normal, or it's 4 Allen head bolts for the headlight. And the wiring's quite straightforward actually here. These 4 wires were feeding those 4 wires were feeding the tiny side lamp. There's a little bulb in the bottom of these headlights. Don't know if you can see that in the bottom there. So there was 2 pairs there. They were feeding the daylight bulbs. These are the 2 negatives for the main headlamps. And also here in the pairs, they're quite well labelled. One is high beam, one is low beam. So it looks fairly straightforward actually. All I need to do is make up the opposite ends to the spade connectors and the bullet connectors, so the wiring shouldn't be an issue. Hopefully that should be fairly straightforward. That means I won't have to splice any wiring. I will use some bullet connectors for the daylight running light, which will be on all the time anyway. Once ignition's on, you've got no independent control over that. So the next thing in progress now is to see if our headlight bucket will line up with anything. So it's a bit of a shame really, because it won't quite line up with the fixings, to be honest. It's hitting the back of the back of the yoke there, of the steering yoke, that part of it. The top hole lines up quite well actually. I can bring all my wires in through the top hole, so that's not an issue. So for it to look sort of a good position really, and more comfortable, bit of gap, because I don't know how hot it's going to get. I don't think it's going to get that hot in there, to be honest. So really this needs to sort of come forward about an inch maybe from the main fixings of there. I could make a little bracket up maybe. I'm going to look at my motorcycle clamp stuff that I've got there, and if I can utilise some parts out of there, that'll be great. So pretty much I want it to sit there like that. I don't know if you can see that well on the camera. I'll be well happy with that if that can doesn't look too bad like that. Nice big headlight, that's what we're looking for. So I've been looking through my stuff, Jimmy, that I've got, and I've come across these. Now what I'm thinking is not use the whole bracket obviously. That pretty much takes you out to the same point. What I'm thinking of doing is, where my thumb is, I think I'm gonna cut it straight up there, cut it straight down there. Then that will give me the option to do is I can mount that. I can pick up those two original fixings with nuts and bolts onto there, and then that will bring the headlight forward the amount that I need, if anything. I think if I went for that one. Anyway, what I'm going to do first, I think, I'm just to go ahead and cut this one there and there. Let's come back and I'm going to offer it up and see how it looks. So Jack, I've gone ahead and cut those parts off these bits. They're only cheap Chinese, like they're only made from steel. So I've cut them. I've put some like rust protector on the open edges because they're only steel, so they could rust up, to be honest. But I've coated the ends up with some rust protector. Let's see how they'll look. Offer them up on the bike. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm gonna try. I might bolt them on there first. I might put one bolt on each side and see how the headlight bucket looks. If I think it's sticking out too far, I might cut them down smaller and then just bring it out to there then, maybe. Let's go ahead and bolt them up there. I've got the original bolts there that I took off the headlight. So let me put them on and see how it looks. So I've got my brackets lined up. That's the bracket extensions I've now fitted there. They were the cut down other parts, and I've now bolted the headlight straight on there. It's all just fitted up loose at the moment, but that's pretty much what it's going to look like. Quite happy with that result. It's quite a nice look there, that is. I've got ample room in the back now. Before it was hitting the back of the, it was hitting there before. Obviously it's gone in, it's come out that much. Well, I did try and move this back to that hole, but then this part of the headlight is hitting the bolts on the back of there. So I mean, for the sake of an inch, it's hardly worth it really, she says. But so I'm happy with that. That's not too bad. I'm still wary of the hole and things, which way around they should be. I think they should be at the top, but because then it gives you better access for the wiring. Then I've got to work out some way of modifying this to fit. Like I said, I'm happy just to cut the front nosing part off, I think. So this protects the wiring, this does. This is the shroud that goes there, like that. So Junior, what I've done, it's all still hanging loose at the moment. I've gone ahead and fitted the headlight inside its enclosure. This is just sitting loose. I just cut that just to see if it will fit. It still needs a bit of adjustment. I think what I'm going to need to do is just I'm going to get a marker, clip that underneath, and it'll probably have to go like a semicircle on there to come in behind it. I know I've chopped that up now, so that's done. But this enclosure is really good. I'm quite happy with that. It's quite intricate. I didn't film it while I was putting it together, but this outside collar comes off, and then there's another collar inside. You have to line the tabs. This only fits one way, the headlight, in the housing. And there's also, so that bolts within the enclosure, within the inner ring. And then there's like a spring here on a screw. This gives you your adjustment. I suppose if it's in a car, this will be ideal. It doesn't really matter on a motorbike, I don't think, to be honest. But so yeah, it's all just loose at the moment. So what I'm going to do, I think, I'm going to go ahead and take off the headlamp, take it back off its brackets. I'm going to go ahead and finish button up properly the brackets. I'm going to put some washers on here, lock these up tight. I'm thinking whether to straighten out these bits. I think I might go ahead and do that, I think. Then I can tidy up the wiring, and then I can go ahead and start making off the ends to connect into the bike's wiring. So I'm going to go ahead now and remove the headlight and button up the brackets, and then we'll come back, see how it looks. So it's all buttoned up now, actually. The headlight is in. It's connected electrically. Thankfully, this Zero don't use proprietary plugs on their headlamp system. They're just literally spade crimps and bullet connectors, so that hooked up fairly straightforward. It's a standard H4 plug on the new LED headlight, which was quite straightforward. With the top cowl, I've got all the wiring cable tied up inside now, back up. I didn't want to trim this, but I had to in the end. I've just followed the contour of the headlight, and I've adjusted it back. So I'm quite happy with that. It's a shame I had to cut this, but never mind. If I ever sell the bike, I'll probably leave it on there anyway. I don't think I'll revert it back to the original, the old twin eyeballs there. To me, that's a big transformation. I'm really happy with that look. Yeah, you could just buy a Zero S model really, which makes it look like a road bike anyway, but where's the fun in that? So I've got the best of both worlds. I do like this bike, plus I've got my upgraded headlight now, my upgraded mudguard, if you call it an upgrade. So we're going to go on to our next scientific part now, which is the sheet on the wall. I'm going to turn the lights off and we're going to turn these on. Like I said, the daylight running light is this upside down U shape, but that's on with the main light anyway. If I didn't connect that, that would be off, but the idea is to have as much on as possible. So let's go ahead and turn the lights off. Right, we'll turn the ignition on, if I can find the key. Boom! Straight away, you can, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but that is a really nice, white, crisp, clear image, picture, light, output. Well, it's hard to see on the scientific white sheet there, but if you look there, if the wall was flat, it's like a step which goes down. And if you watch any YouTube videos on, this is where I did a little bit of the homework, although I didn't know this was going to have a beam pattern to it. If you look on some of the YouTube videos where people are testing LED headlights, headlights do actually have a beam pattern. So here in the UK then, so obviously my incoming traffic would be on my right hand side. So the light's low and then it steps up onto the left hand side, which is quite good. I can't really adjust it at present. I mean, all it needs to do is grab two hands of it and yank it up and down, whichever the... So let's switch to high beam. So that's high beam. It's nice. Obviously high beam's just a big blur really, because you're not going to be driving with high beam on. Let's do the flashers. I can now do Morse code with LED headlights now. Send out a distress signal. And if those drivers decide to cut me up, I can give them some full beam straight in their mirrors. So I'm really happy with that. So there may be, I may put up on the screen now before and after. So overall, I'm really happy with the look of that. Let's do a side profile of it with the mudguard. I've turned out really well. I hope it's worth it. So hopefully my next venture out in the wilderness of the darkness, I can see how we're getting on. Well, thanks for watching. That's our headlight conversion upgrade done now. I'm quite happy with the outcome of that. It's quite nice. It's got a nice look to it. I think that looks much better than this. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I think it's alright. It's a nice upgrade improvement. Some other Zero FX owners have put LED conversions within the projector, but I think that means you have to cut the back of the headlight off, because I think the whole kit is actually physically longer than a standard bulb, which makes sense. And I think you'll have the cooling bit sticking out the back of the headlight housing, and they do get quite hot, the back of them. Heat sinks on the back of those LED lamps. Some of them have got little built-in fans on them. So I'm really happy with that. What do you guys think? Let me know. Please give me a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. Stavros, is that you? You're back!